Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k. So we've had a METAWATCH data balance, data sheet update kind of thing. And I'm going to get into it. And how it affects us Necron players and our Necron index. Because there's going to be a lot of impact from not only the data slate, but there's also been changes to the points. The points has changed, and there's also been a couple of changes in fact in the rules commentary. So we're going to go through all those changes today. Well, not all of them, the ones that affect Necron players. So let's begin with the first lot of changes that are from the core rules, and we're going to start us off with devastating wounds. Now, devastating wounds it's not mortal wounds anymore. It previously changed to mortal wounds. So if it was damage 3 and you rolled a 6 to wound, which will make a critical wound, that was 3 mortal wounds previously before this update. Now they still don't get a save, whether it's an invulnerable save, whether it's an armor save, they still don't get the save, but now it is just 1 attack. So those extra damages are not going to spill onto other models. If it's a 3 damage weapon, and you're going to get 3 damage go straight through, yep, it's going to only go onto that one specific model, and it's not going to spill to the next one and the next one and so on, in the way that mortal wounds would. So I've got a little list for us for what that's going to do to Necron players. These are all the units that have got devastating wounds that have got more than 1 damage, because of course if they've got 1 damage it has no effect whatsoever. So things like Tomb Blades, the Seaver, the Canoptic Triarch Stalker, not the Canoptic Triarch Stalker, there's no such thing. The Triarch Stalker, that has the devastating wounds with a Particle Shredder. It's only 1 damage, so it's not going to have any impact on that kind of model. However, this kind of list, it will impact them. So Imitate the Stormlord, Orokin the Diviner, Amrakin the Traveller, Vargard Oberon, the Locust Lord with a blade, that's the Standard Lord, Command Barge, the Overlord, all the blades there have got devastating wounds and they're all sort of damage 2 onwards. Lich Guard with the War Scythes, the Plasma Sight that you're going to attach to your Ophidians or your Scorbait Destroyers, that's devastating wounds. You've got the Nightbringer with his sweep attack, I think it is. Doomsday Arcs, if they stay stationary, that's dead wounds. The Tesseract Bolt and the Monolith, as well as the Silent King as well, is one weapon that has devastating wounds. All of those are now going to be impacted by this 1 minor core change to devastating wounds. So that's the first thing that I picked up on. The second thing, straight below it, is the stratagems. This one's a bit of a biggie for me. It's when you're modifying stratagem CP cost, you can now only modify battle tactic stratagems. Otherwise it's not going to work. So for example, the Necron Overlord has an ability which is Mine Will Be Done, where you can use a stratagem for free even if it's been used this turn. If it's not a battle tactic stratagem, then it's not going to be modified. And there's only 2 stratagems from the Necron's index that are battle tactic stratagems, which are the Protocol of Hungry Void and the Protocol of Conquering Tyrant. So one's the melee one and one's the shooty one. There's no Undying Legions, there's no Vengeful Stars. So you're not going to be using them for free. That's unfortunate. In fact, it then goes on to say that if you are doing the reverse, like if you are using a unit to increase the CP expenditure of a unit, an enemy unit, you can only do it on battle tactic stratagem. So this is now going to nerf one of our characters, which is Nemesis Zendrek, because he's got an ability called Counter Tactics to increase the CP by 1 for enemy unit stratagems. So you can only use this again on battle tactic stratagems. Of course that's going to relate to their faction, but if you're looking at the core rules, there's a couple in there. There's command reroll, which is a big one. That is a big one, to be fair, so you're going to be making that 2 CP. I mean, we could do that anyway, but now we're kind of limited. There's go to ground, no one really uses that, and of course there's the faction specific ones which you're going to have to come across as you're playing your games. I don't like that change. It's severely nerfed the Overlord and Nemesis Zendrek in my opinion. Now it goes on to say stratagem that can be used more than once per phase per turn. You can only now use them once unless they specifically named the stratagem. So again, this is going to go back and relate to the Overlord again, because there's no named stratagem within that ability. It doesn't say you can use Vengeful Stars. Again, it just says you can use a stratagem, so therefore it's not going to work. However, the Hexmark Destroyer thankfully gets out of this one because it does specifically name Fire Overwatch in the ability, so it's a named stratagem, so therefore we can actually use this repeatedly during a phase. So that one he gets out of it, that's okay. Now, in fact, while we're speaking of the Fire Overwatch stratagem, they have slightly changed this. You can now not target Titanic units with the Fire Overwatch stratagem. So that's going to assist our Monoliths, our Tesseract Bolts, all the big stuff basically. They can't be targeted with the Fire Overwatch stratagem. Were they being targeted with Fire Overwatch? Depends on the game, I suppose. It depends on the faction. I didn't really come across it that often, but maybe you guys did. But that's a small change that will relate to our bigger stuff. And what else we got? The Insane Bravery stratagem, that's been changed slightly. You're now not rolling for it first and then checking to see if you failed. You've got to pull the stratagem beforehand, and you can only use it once per battle. So just make sure you are using that wisely. Ruins have slightly changed, but they've now basically removed towering. Towering are not going to be ignoring all the ruins and stuff, which is good, because we absolutely hated towering units. They were destroying everything we got from far away. Even if we were behind terrain, they were just absolutely battering us. So for me, that one is a decent change. Now that's the changes from the core rules. There are some changes though from the actual points cost, and these are going to massively change our lists, first of all, and also kind of what's in and what's out, what's meta, what's competitive, because points are points and we need every point we can get when we're playing our game. So we want as many units as possible. So let's go through the changes. So the first change is the Canoptic Doomstalker. 10 points more expensive. Don't know why, not really sure. There must be a reason why they've given it 10 points. It's now 135 points. Yep, cool. I don't really use them, but some of you may be annoyed by that. The Reanimator has gone up 10 points. Yeah, I totally understand that one, to be honest with you. It was pretty good. It was an auto include. And to be honest, I'm not that bothered, and I'll explain why in a moment, because something else has got cheaper. So hold that thought. Crypto Thralls are now 60 points. They've gone up 20. They're overpowered anyway, to be honest, guys. We know that. They're so good once you reanimate them. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Of course, as a Necron player, I want them as cheap as possible, but realistically, if we're playing fairly, 40 points for those two guys was too cheap. So yeah, 60 points now for the Crypto Thralls. The Doomsday Ark went up by 25 points to 210 points. They're okay, to be honest with you. I mean, our heavy hitters have gone up in general, I believe. But 210 points for a Doomsday Ark, that kind of needs to stay stationary. I think it could have maybe stayed as it is. But again, they'll have their reasons. They'll have their reasons. Hexmark Destroyer, that went up to 80 points from 70. I mean, because it got away with the Overwatch stratagem ability thing, I think that's fine. It's a pretty good unit. It's pretty much an S tier unit anyway, isn't it? The Hexmark Destroyer. So many uses. The Deep Strike ability, the multi-threat eliminator, the free fire Overwatch thing. It's a pretty good character, and lone operative on top of that. So I'm okay with that. It's fine. It's fine. One of the models that has got cheaper, which is a good one, Illumina Zares. 35 points cheaper than he was, so he's now 185 points. Will he be more playable now? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how he fits into this. I mean, I think 220 points is where he used to be, and that was way too expensive. Way too expensive. So 185, I think we could have knocked a bit more off of that, to be honest with you, because he doesn't have much output. It's just the AP that, the -1 and +1 AP, the ability he has. I think that's a pretty good one. Is it worth 185? We'll see. Imitek the Stormlord went up 5 points. Why did he go up 5 points? I mean, Devastating Wounds, probably one of the reasons. He got nerfed with that. I'm just going to go back to his datasheet now. Imitek. Why did he go up? Yeah, why did he go down even? In fact, it's kind of weird that he's gone down, because his ability actually gives us CP, which now makes him better than the Overlord, in my opinion. Okay, he doesn't have a Resurrection Orb, but he now guarantees you CP, whereas the Overlord pretty much doesn't. So if anything, he probably should have gone up, or maybe the Overlord should have gone down. But hey, it is what it is. The Locust Heavy Destroyer is another one of our big hitters. They went up 5 points per model. They're now 50. I think that's what they were in 9th edition, weren't they? Yep, I'm okay with that. They're worth 50 for me. Locust Lord actually went down 5 points, which is nice, I suppose. Because I actually use the Locust Lord quite a lot, because I like to stick in with my Locust Heavy Destroyers with the Exterminators. So we're saving 5 points there, although, I mean, the Exterminator Destroyers have gone up 5 points per model, so you're spending an extra 15, but then you're saving 5, so really the entire synergy has gone up 10. Cool, whatever. Lich Guard, they have gone up 20 points per 5. They're really good. We can't really complain, can we, guys? I mean, 20 points for 5, that's 4 points ahead. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, when you're adding the Crypto Thralls on top of that, that's another 20 points again, so a combination of 40 points. It does start to stack up again. It starts to stack up a little bit there, so we've got to watch our point expenditures, especially when we're adding characters and Crypto Thralls to units. The Monolith, one of the bigger things, went down by 35 points. I'm presuming because the towering keyword has now been nerfed. Monolith, I'm just double checking, because that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it, if I got the wrong... It would be... Spell Monolith correctly, then it will help. Yeah, so towering is pretty much not that great anymore. Not that great anymore. So the Monolith is 35 points cheaper, 350 points. Necron Warriors, this is where I was going to relate the Reanimator to, so hold that thought if you're still holding it. 10 points is now 110 points. 10 models is now 110 points. Used to be 120. So for every 10 models in a unit, you're saving 10 points. Now go back to that Reanimator, which was plus 10. So it pretty much breaks even right there, doesn't it? So for me, it's fine. If I'm bringing Warriors, I'm definitely bringing a Reanimator anyway. So they pretty much break even. In fact, we save 10 points more because we take Warriors in 20s, don't we? So really, the combination there, we're saving 10 overall. That's a good thing for Warriors. Who else we got next? We got Ophidian Destroyers. That one's a shocker for me. They are cheaper. I'm using them every list like an auto-include unit. They are cheaper. They're 100 points now, not 110. 10 points cheaper for the 3. I'm presuming it's because of the dev wounds with the plasma sites. I'm presuming that's what the deal is there. Great, I'll take a couple of them. I mean, a couple of units of them. Tunneling Horrors popping in and out. I'm happy with that, saving some points. The Scorpic Destroyers, very similar. They've gone down 10 points per 3. And they had devastating wounds because of plasma sites as well, so the exact same reasoning. Scorpic Lord went down 15 points, but he was just overpriced, wasn't he? So he's now a 100-point model. I'd like to see how that fares because he is an okay character. He was just expensive compared to others. At 100 points, it's probably a fair deal. So I might start using him a bit more and seeing how it goes. Tesseract Bolt went down 50 points, which is one of the bigger ones. One of the bigger points decreases. 375 points now, used to be 425. I still think it sucks. I think it needs to drop another 50 at the very least. But we'll get there, I'm sure. The Silent King is another biggie. 50 points dropped. That's good. 420 points, that's sort of reasonable now. It's reasonable. I think it could have gone down to 400, but it is now reasonable. You do get a lot of bang for your buck with the Silent King. The abilities as well, re-rolling ones. That's quite unique to the index. I don't believe you get that anywhere else. Maybe it's just the Locust Destroyers or the Heavy Destroyers. No, that's wounds even. So it's not even... I'm sure there is a unit that re-rolls ones. Immortals. It's got to be Immortals. But other than that, the Silent King is giving it to virtually any unit with an aura. The Transcendent Catan, that's unfortunate. He's gone up by 20 points. So he's now 300 points. And then, of course, you're going to take the Septurnal Weave. So he's going to be 310 points. Is he worth it? Yes. You pay that all day. It's fine. 280 points, whatever it used to be, was too cheap. Triumph Praetorians, they've gone down 15 points per 5. 120 points for the 5 now instead of 135. Is that still too expensive? It is for me personally. I think I don't really want to take them still. I'm just looking at the death marks. Where are they? Death marks are 65 for 5. They've both got deep strike, one shoots and fights. Okay-ish. I'd rather just take death marks. Yeah, for me they're still too expensive. But for some people, they'll enjoy that change. And I think that is the last change, in fact. Quite surprised that some of the characters didn't get a decrease. The ones that had dead wounds. Again, Orikin the Diviner maybe, Amrakir the Traveller, Vargard Oberon. None of those got a decrease. I thought they might have because of the Devastating Wounds. And the Overlord as well, especially. But the Overlord got a severe nerf. I mean, other factions are going to have that same nerf. I mean, I've not actually looked at how it affects the Tyranids. That will be my next job on the Tyranid channel. Is it going to affect the Will of the High Mind? I need to look at the specific wording. But I'm sure every faction has that kind of ability and a debuff stratagem cost ability as well. So they're all going to be nerfed quite equally. It just feels bad because the Overlord was our go-to character. And he's got the Resorb as well. So now it's like, do we take Imatech or do we take an Overlord? I think at this moment I'm leaning towards Imatech now for the CP. So guys, that's just a little bit of an update from me and of course Games Workshop via Warhammer community with their balanced data slate, or what do they call these things now? Rules commentary, the points thing, and the balanced data slate. Yeah, that's all from the MetaWatch. So yeah, guys, make sure you are hitting the like on your exits, and I'll probably be going into a little bit more detail with this stuff. Maybe, if it needs to be done, we'll do it. But yeah, thank you all for watching, guys. See you in the next one.